All right, what's up, my friends? Todd Falcone here. Welcome back to another episode. And today, this is going to be a fun one. This is actually one of my brothers from another mother who I've known for a very long time. In fact, we'll have to figure out exactly when. It goes back to like early 90s. And
31 years.
met this guy.
31 years.
That was a long time ago, man. That's crazy. So I've got my buddy Freddy Elias here. Freddy, what's up, man?
Brother, I'm doing great. And I love, let me say this to your audience. I love working with you. And we've been friends for a long time. We've kept our relationship. But you are so fun and so funny. But I love that you're direct and to the point about our industry and about what's right and about how to do it. Because I think a lot of things have gotten clouded over the last 4 years or so. So anyway, I'm just pumped to be on your Zoom here, brother.
It's funny that you didn't even know I was funny.
I know, it's just crazy. I didn't realize how funny you are till like whatever 2 years ago.
I know, when you sat in there in that live event, you're like, oh my gosh, dude, I didn't know you had that whole comedy thing too. I was actually talking to a good friend of mine like an hour ago, Alexis Romano, and because you know how I do it. I mean, I just like tell people blunt, honest, straightforward truth, but it's kind of like I'm smacking them a little bit with the truth, like sometimes the hard truth, but I layer humor into it, so it's not even like you're getting smacked. Because there's another, I won't mention it, I never mention names, but there was a trainer that I saw one time, and dude, he would just beat the ever living crap out of this audience and like made them feel like crap. I mean, you could literally see them walking out of there like with their tail between their legs, and I'm like, I don't think he did. I didn't say it to him, but I was thinking that didn't inspire anybody to want to go do more. So I think humor is pretty helpful, but I'm glad I'm glad you finally figured out that I've got a little funniness to me. So it only took you like what, 27 years, but then again, I mean, dude, like just so you guys know, like Freddie and I met really early on in actually both of our network marketing careers. He actually came out of bodybuilding. Like, in fact, let's just do this. Like like, how did you get introduced to network marketing? And like, I'm sure it's always interesting when you meet somebody who's like really successful, been in the game, made a ton of money. Like, how did you get introduced to it? I don't even know if I know.
Crazy story. I was a light heavyweight national competitor. So back in the late 80s, I was in Flex magazine. I lived in Santa Monica, Venice, and met my wife 35 years ago, moved back to Peoria, Illinois, where I'm from, and I was a fitness trainer, and then I was really into health and wellness, and so I was working out late one night in the gym. I had a key to the gym. It was just a dive of a gym, and in a really bad area. I'm gonna tell you where I grew up. You remember Richard Pryor?
Oh yeah.
Okay, you remember I'm sure you listened to him back in the day or even whatever. I grew up 6 blocks from Richard Pryor. He grew up in a brothel. Close to the Warner homes. My dad owned a bar 6 blocks from, and it was, just a ghetto area. But it is what it is, what it is. I love where I came from in the south end of Peoria. So it was me and another guy training, my workout partner at the time. And this guy walks in the gym. It's 9 o'clock at night in this terrible area. And he comes in, and I'm like, who's this guy? Real skinny guy. When he talked, he kind of talked out of his nose. You probably know who I'm talking about. And he had this box in his hand, and it was nutrition. And he's like, hey, is the owner in? And I go, no, he's not here. And I go, he's like, well, okay. And I go, what do you got in your box? Just messing with him. Cause I was built phenomenal back then, and he's just a real skinny guy. And I'm like, he does not know about nutrition, I can tell you that. And then he's telling me about all these products. And then I go, you know what? I said, Randy, I'm not really interested in your program or your products. And of course, he was talking about, how you could make money, and I'd never been in network marketing. And, I'd heard of things, different companies like an Amway or whatever, but like, I didn't know anybody was successful, but I didn't, I wasn't into that. And I said, I'm not really interested. He says, he looks at me and he says to me, could I at least get you some information and get your phone number? I'm like, well, that's fine. I didn't think he'd ever call me. So he gave me this brochure and I gave him my number. Of course, back then we didn't have caller ID. And he calls me the next day like 6 times. And I'm like, this guy's nuts. In four, no, I'm just being serious. In 4 days, he called me 23 times at
Wow.
least. Okay. And he called me Easter Eve, midnight, my phone rings. The night before
Wow.
Easter, this was I think whatever, April is April of 91. And I answered because I thought something might have been going on with my parents, who's calling me this late. And it's him with Dan on the phone.
Oh,
And I'm like, he
the
goes,
1-2 punch.
yeah, he goes, I want you at midnight, though. Think about this, at midnight, 4 days later. And most of the time I said, look, I don't have time to talk. I could go, boom, whatever. But here's what I'll say. I listened to Dan and it kind of resonated with me because his style was, I liked his style. And bottom line, 2 days later, he drives 2 hours and calls me because he lived in Rock Falls, Illinois, and I was in Bloomington, Illinois. And I actually had a health food store. And he calls me from Morton, Illinois. He goes, hey, Freddie, can I come down and see you? I'm in Morton, Illinois. And I'm like, man, you've driven 2 hours or hour and a half already. Might as well just keep coming. And he got me started that day.
Wow.
Because he told me two things. But I'm going, this guy's serious. He's really digging in, trying to get me on these products and get me into this business. If he wouldn't have done that, I probably never had gotten in the industry. And that day, you know, I bought the products. He had a kit, and I said, can I write you a check and can you hold it for a couple days? Because I don't have the money in the account. And that's the story. And I love the products. And he told me, he says, I'll show you how to make 10,000 a month. And I'm thinking, if I could make 1,000 extra a week, I'm in. And that's how it started.
Dude, it's so crazy. And for those of you either watching or listening, like a couple episodes prior to this, I interviewed a woman by the name of Michelle Schaefer, and she was a hairstylist. And Freddie, you don't know this because you probably don't know the story, but what's crazy about it is like she had all these people that she was cutting their hair and, coloring their hair and all that. And she got pitched a bunch of times, but all the people that like were bringing it to her, they were like making no money or the hobby money. So in her mind is like, oh, this network marketing thing is just like hobby money, right? And then it wasn't until like she met her now husband, who had made millions of dollars in network marketing, where she was like, oh, I had no idea this like was for real, like big money. And it was kind of interesting. I asked her the question. I said, well, if somebody had like come to you and put you on the phone, like, he did with Dan. And so if you guys are wondering who's Dan, is Dan McCormick. I mean, Dan is a legend in the space. He's a good friend of both Freddie and I's. And like, I mean, that almost assuredly helped seal the deal. She goes, yeah. She goes, I would have been, if somebody would have put me on the phone with somebody who was incredibly successful, I would have heard him out. And it's like that, just so you guys know, if you cut the last episode and you're catching this one, you just heard it twice. Like this whole concept of like third-party validation. You got these marketers that are out there with this BS crap about, oh, three-way calls are dead. They're, I mean, look, what are you talking about? Three-way calls are dead. Everybody's got a phone in their hand, on their body 24/7. And you're thinking first of all the three-way call is third-party validation, social validation, and social validation, third-party validation rules. So imagine if Randy didn't do any of that. Here's a skinny dude in the gym, and he was smart enough to get Dan on the phone with you. And we both know how skilled Dan is. And I mean, he's one of the greatest storytellers of all time.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I mean, and just, dude, it's so funny. I mean, I love hearing stories because like we've known each other forever, but like we met like a long time ago, like 31 years ago. And I knew you and met you back in the Bodywise days, way back in the day. And but then we like didn't really, connect for a long time. And then, the
Mhm.
company you're in now, we reconnected several years ago. You're
Well, can
crushing
I
it.
yeah, well, okay, after Body Wise, I had a great experience, I mean, obviously, we can talk dollars on here, I'm guessing, everything's
Yeah.
so compliant anymore, but, I got my check up to 16,000 a month back in 1990, I think it was 4, and you know, we had no kids. I don't know what 16,000 a month would be related to now, but quite a bit. And I created time freedom, a lifestyle, sold my healthy store, did this full time, but the bottom line is that after I got out of body was I sold my organization. Things were challenging, and you know I guess I can be raw, but they changed the comp plan every single year. It was ridiculous, and it created havoc, and people would leave, go somewhere else, which makes no sense because it was a great company at the time. And so I sold my organization and I got in the construction trade. I became a real estate investor, and I started doing things in real estate. And ultimately, but I was out of the industry. I didn't do anything for over 9 years. I did nothing. So that's part of why we weren't connected either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and you have kids, I have kids, life gets busy, whatever. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you.
Yeah, but man, when you get like like I kind of refer to network marketing, it's kind of, I mean, I've never done it, but like crack, it's like once you get it going, right? Like I've tried a lot of things, in my life, but I never tried crack. So
I'm
I
glad you
just
had it.
think like, it's like so apparently so addictive, right? So like to me, like residual income is so addictive. Like when you get it going right, there's nothing better. Like you're like, wait, it just, the money keeps coming in from the work that I did last month and 2 months ago and a year ago.
Yeah.
That's the whole like beauty of leveraged income and network marketing. It's hard. I mean, it's not like it's like, uh, people oftentimes promote it. I teach people not to do this. Like, why are you out telling somebody it's easy, man? That's probably the hardest thing you're ever going to do, but it's worth it. It's hard work. I mean, you know it. So I'm curious to dig into some stuff because like, I don't know what it was. Like it was probably what 5, 6 years ago or something like that. And you're like, dude, can you coach me a little bit on social media? Because like just
Yes.
so you guys know, like Freddie, Freddie started and I started in a day and age where the internet did not exist. Email didn't exist. There was no surfing the web. There was no streaming video. We did this thing called push play with cassette tapes over the phone. You remember like the cassette
Yeah.
tapes and the eight, just the stuff that we had. And so we did it the way we did it with the tools that were available at the time. And of course, as time progresses, like tools change, resources change, and all of that. And I remember like, and I'm really curious now to ask you this because Freddie has never been a big social media guy. Let's just put it that way. I mean, you're on social media now more so than I think I've ever seen you be. But like and it wasn't even a hired coaching deal. I don't think it was just like, dude, can you help me? Or maybe it was. I don't even remember. I just know that you're like, bro, help me out with social media. So I was like showing you how to do some lead generation and all of that. And it's just interesting, like, you know, I'm curious, how much do you use social media as a driver of new business in terms of recruiting? If how much you use it and how do you use it? Or are you still using the fundamental foundational methods, tried and true methods that we know have always worked and will always continue to work? I'm curious, like, because you're absolutely crushing it in the company that you're in now. And how long have you been in this company now? Has it been like 9 years or how long has it been?
No, actually, just over 14.
Oh, 14. Okay. Wow.
Hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if you want me to share how much I've made or not, but um, again, because I'm used to the compliant thing. I mean, the FTC doesn't want us to say anything, but up to you.
Well,
So
I
I've
mean, we're
done
not pitching any opportunities here, so it's not like this is
okay.
attached to a business
Well,
opportunity
I've
presentation.
earned $6 million with this company in
Solid.
commissions, and it changed my life. Um, but the bottom line is, I'm not a social media person, and I think, and you helped me a lot coaching me through. Obviously, I want to, plug you because I love your style. But, my girl, Lori Ulrich, you work with her for, I think, a month or whatever, and helped her go from basically, 8. And I can say this, and obviously it carried over. It was about a 90-day span, but you guided her and helped her, and she's writing down everything she was doing. And that was one of the things you taught her was if your calendar is busy, you're probably going to have some business, right? And she still does it. But I think the time she was earning 8,000 a month, which is great money, and for anybody. I mean, even if you have a
Oh
job,
yeah.
you're making 8,000 a month. It's pretty great money, for people, especially today. But she went from 8,000 a month to right at 20,000 a month within 90 days. But you guided her, so thank you for that, because that raised my income. You understand, and your voice was probably stronger than my voice because she's used to hearing my voice all the time. But you have all, you got to change your way you work and your skills. So to answer your question, I I'm trying, but I'm not very consistent. I haven't sponsored 10 people from social media of all the people on my team. But lately I've been going, I got to slow down and learn a few things to speed up. But I think the bottom line is, so I've been doing some things, you helped me to do things, and I got away from it. It's not my comfort zone, if you would say. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
sure.
What I'm good at are certain things that's my comfort zone, where it's probably not comfort for most people, the way I build my business, talking to people. And I can meet people everywhere I go. Every day my antennas are up, and I'm always meeting people every day wherever I go. It could be the gas pump, grocery store, the gym, in an elevator. And I just build relationships. And today people are looking for a way to make more money. It is given. And so I ask questions, and I get to know them. And but I've been doing lately, maybe, I have not gone live on my wall probably ever, which is a mistake.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, but I've been, I just learned how to do stories in Facebook. So I've been trying to be consistent this week, only this week, and with stories, and then do a little bit of Instagram stuff, and that's it. But I haven't. It's just not my comfort zone. I get frustrated with the technology sometimes because I try to do something and it might take me 30 minutes, and I just go, I'm done. You know what I mean?
What's that, like Murphy's Law, when like it's so funny for me. I got some big project I got to do, and some piece of tech isn't working, and I'm like, it's the day I need to get all this stuff done, and it ain't happening. And I'll call my assistant. I'm like, well, it's one of the, I go, Murphy hit me again today. It's just weird, What's interesting, I mean, look, and for you guys that are watching or listening, what's interesting is like the dude's made $6 million in a company that he's in, and honestly, he's barely done anything on social media. So when people say like, "Oh, you got to build on social media," I mean, I'm pretty strongly opinionated, just the way just the way I am. So I mean, I personally have a love-hate relationship with social media. I'm on it. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, not on TikTok, was canceled my account. But even to this day, as much as I do, and I do way more than you do on social media, I get most of my speaking gigs and clients, coaching clients, whatever, through just conversations with people. Now I'm super well networked at this point. I probably have one of the, like, if you saw all the phone numbers in my phone, I mean, I got over 7,000 phone numbers in my phone, and they're all very influential people in network marketing, or not all of them, but many of those. There's a lot,
Mhm.
it's like the who's who of, like, I got every top earner virtually in my phone, right, and company owners. So, but my business, speaking and training, is different than building in the field. The good news for you guys that are watching or listening is, like, if you suck at Facebook or Instagram, I mean, it might be a good thing for you to work on. But what I have a problem with is like these groups that are like only doing Facebook or only doing social media, and it's like you join their team, and if you have no social media game, it's like, well, you can't even be on the team. And it's like, statistically, I don't remember the exact number. I think it's 382. But if you look at like the average number of Facebook friends people have globally, if we look at, globally, it's 382 people. Like people like us have, whatever. I got 5,000 friends and 27,000 followers or whatever it is. That's because I'm more of an influencer. I don't really consider myself an influencer. It's not the term I would give myself, but,
Mm-hmm.
apparently I am, right? So you're trying to take somebody who's got 176 friends on Facebook and tell them we got to go build their whole freaking business on Facebook. What about
Yeah.
the damn telephone? What about the contacts in their phone? And it's like we allow people like, and I don't want to get into this conversation, but we live in a weak freaking society right now. There's a lot of weakness in the world, and that's
100%.
going to take us in a totally different direction that I don't want to get into on this. But we're also in a. I feel like we're creating like this weak generation of keyboard warriors. And look, I'm not knocking you if you do social media and there's some people that are amazing on social media. They're way better than I am. And they build huge businesses using
Yeah.
social, but the masses of people that are coming in aren't, some beautiful looking blonde that is incredibly attractive on Instagram that everybody's going to follow her because of the way she looks, or they've got, somebody who's got incredible social skills and they're able to communicate in a way that just sucks and draws people into them and makes them want to listen because they've truly got something to say in an amazing way. There's average people that are like, somehow finding their way into network marketing and going, hey, this is pretty cool. I like this product. I'd like to share this with other people and maybe build a business around it. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of going on a tangent, but I just think
No,
it's interesting.
I love what you're saying, and 100%, you know. And so bottom line is our business. Look, let me go back for a second, okay? Because you said it's hard. Okay. It
Yep.
is. But everybody's grinding something. Okay. I
No
don't care
doubt.
what it is. And okay. And you know what's hard? What's hard is when you go to a job every day, right? And you don't like the people you work with or whatever, and you don't like your job, and you have to get up every day and go do it. And then Friday's here and Sunday night rolls around, and I mean, Monday mornings usually I think the most heart attacks are on Mondays because you're stressed about having to go. And then maybe today you're not making enough money and you're trying to figure out how you're living on a credit card, trying to figure out how you're going to make more money, and you're a construction guy and your back is killing you and you got to do it because you're raising children or you're trying to pay bills, and you're like dying out there, and or maybe you're whatever, you're a teacher, and it's chaotic anymore, kids are out of hand, parents out of hand, and you're like in the state of Illinois, if you're a starting teacher, your first year 1, 2, and 3, it's a law. You got to be paid 40,000 a year, but you're bringing home 2,200 a month. Well, how do you live on that? And you're getting yelled at and spit on, and that's a grind. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
So
yeah.
when you say it's hard, well, that's hard. That's a hard thing to go through. And so this is a part-time business opportunity that you can get involved in, whether it's a product or a service that I always say that you're in charge of your destiny. And if you don't take charge of your destiny, somebody else is. And that's what's going on out there. But the bottom line is, if you dig in and you set goals and you get a big why and you go after it, and you're with a good company, and you're passionate about your products and or service, and you're passionate about helping people, making a difference, it's all about getting passionate and going, and then you can grow something. As you talked about, you said something, and I'm going to talk about that on, I think that's going to be my first Facebook lives on my wall ever, residual passive income, and how you can earn that, and what you did a month ago you're getting paid, and what you did 3 months ago you're still getting paid, and even if you take a little bit of a break after a year or two, you're still getting residual, and it's kind of cool because my next door neighbor is very wealthy. And he's very wealthy, and we're walking, we worked out and we went for a walk, and I get paid daily, and my commission today was $2,900. And I go, well, it's nice to get paid, and I haven't done nothing yet today. You know what I mean? But the bottom line is that we're in a people business, brother. It's about building relationships. Now, to me, if you're talking about social media of any kind, or that's like casting a net, right? And you get more exposure quicker and faster. It's great if you're good at it. If you're not good at it, there's, to me, I'll just say this, there's too much clutter today. Okay, I call it clutter, or I call it whatever, because you know, my whole thing, if you want to build a business, we get paid to talk to people. Over time, every day of being consistent, set a goal every day to talk to 1, 2, 3 a day. For me, it started with my list of names of people I knew, and I categorized them. And
so let's talk about something real quick, because okay, so on the hard thing, right? We already know people work hard, right? You're working hard wherever you're working, probably, right? Some of you love your jobs, but you work hard. Some of you, or whoever's watching it, whatever, like it depends on the audience. Like, people are out there, they're working hard, they're leaving the house, they're leaving their family, they got an hour commute each direction, 2-hour commute, stressed out, having to perform. So it's like, and so that from that perspective, people work hard out of network marketing. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to be successful in network marketing, I mean, highly successful, you need to work hard, but it's a different kind of hard.
yeah.
So so I want to talk about that, because, let's say you're doing whatever you're doing. You're out there, like, let's say in any non-sales type of job. Like, it's interesting because people that are out there calling on people and doing proposals and selling stuff, they acclimate typically pretty quickly to network marketing. One of the reasons, like, why I teach, recruiting professionals and specifically realtors, is they're just more cut out for it, right? But you take somebody who's in a regular job, and I'm not trying to be just. I'm trying to,
It's
like,
okay, bro. Just say what you
a
say.
non-sales job. They're showing up for hourly salary or whatever, and now they're in this deal, and this deal requires them that they've got to go, call their friends, call their family, call associates, or reach out to those people. That's typically, a lot of marketers will hammer that, like, stop begging and bugging your friends and family, use our marketing system, BS, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with these marketing systems, but it's like you're avoiding some of the best contacts on your list. And because here's the thing, what they're doing is they're preying on the fears that people have. And this is where the hard is. Okay. And I want to ask you how you help people get through the hard, because it's not like from a work perspective, like, we're just looking at calories burned in the marketplace. You're burning calories out there doing whatever you're doing. You're going to burn calories. You're expending energy. But it's a different kind of hard. Now it's like, I have to face, like, this, wow, well, what if I get rejected? What if I screw up? What if they don't like me anymore? What if, they yell at me? What if all of these mental what ifs, which comes down to self-worth issues, which I talk about all the time, which is one of the reasons, like, in, any kind of coaching or training, like, I mean, you can't teach network marketing without talking about the importance of adopting a successful mindset, a mindset that's based around belief and conviction in the model that you're in, the products that you're marketing, the company that you represent, and yourself. And the thing is, all those aren't typically the variables. We're the variable that needs to be worked on. So I'm kind of curious, like, what do you do to help people get through that hard? Because that is the hard. I mean, we're talking to people I mean, dude, whether it's doing crap on social media or talking to people on the phone or text messaging somebody and inviting them. I mean, physically, like, I put on a new roof on a building at my river property and changed the toilet this last weekend at my river property. That was sweaty, laborious, stinky work when we were doing the toilet. But, like, I'm curious, because I mean, dude, you're great at this business. Like, you are exceptional at this business. Coming from being a bodybuilder and owning a nutrition store to getting into network marketing and finding your way and figuring it out, like we all do. If you're, I mean, you either figure it out or you don't. You did. We did. Like, what do you do to help people who are wrought with fear and anxiety and lacking in self-worth, to get those people into action, to make the hard easy? Because for you and I, talking to people is, I mean, it was hard for me, and I don't know if it was for you in the beginning, but it ain't hard for me now. Like, I have no
Right.
problem talking to anybody anywhere at any time. So how do you
Yeah.
get people through that hard?
Well, just remember what you just said. It was hard for you before. And now, and I can't even believe that just because of your personality, right? And how you are. So, and it was hard for me early on because I'm going to tell you why. When my first company, I'm a hard worker and I was hungry, but I was worried about what people would think about me being in network marketing. Now, granted, that was 1991, you know what I'm saying? And so that was one of the things that held me back a bit. It held me back a lot of it, you know. But as I built and I seen, I got a fear of loss because I seen other people growing and I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to grow and I seen success and then I got success. And so, but when you talk about how do you get people through that, I do a blend of things to say, okay, here's how you get started. But bottom line is it's mindset. But I talk about what their want is and what their why is. And if that why is that important to them, here's what I say: when your why is that important to you, some people say your why's got to make you want to cry or whatever. You got to dig in and ask questions to get deeper with the why. And I've learned how to do that. But ultimately, the bottom line, if it's that important, that's what gets you through the fear. And I tell them I had fear. I had to grow my comfort zone. And your income will equal your comfort zone. So if your comfort zone's down here, that's where your income's going to be. You may get lucky because you can in our industry, or bring your own luck. Maybe you talk to somebody that just blows up. But when I talk about their why, and I say my why, here's what my why was when I first started. And that got me through the negative people. It got me through the rejection. It got me through, the no's. It got me through when I first started my company, there was nights where I didn't want to talk to nobody. I worked all day and I came home to my kids and I didn't want to talk to anybody. But I said, is that going to get me closer to what I want to achieve? Right. So I had to focus on that. And then I worked on my mindset. But the one thing I can tell you is if you believe in people, and I believe in people, and I tell them you can do this, and I always got to take them back to remember what you said you wanted, what your why was. I said, is that really important to you? And they're like, yes. I said, then okay, let's make these calls. I'm with you the whole way. And so those are the things that I do. And then, our goal, our bottom line goal is to get them their first check. And now they got a commission. And now they have some success. And then in our company, if you get 4 people going with this many amount of points, you get a second, a third, a fourth check, you get a bonus, and so it's like, let's get there, and then let's get the first level ranking. And I cheer them on, but I let them know, if you do this, I don't go, you do this, you make manager. I go, you do this, you'll make $600. Because they can relate to the money, not the position. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I do that. But I think this is important. I think a lot of people struggle with this. This is where, you remember Bill Heron by chance?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, he was a master storyteller, and he painted the picture so clear about success in your life and about lifestyle and about what you could have and what you can do for your children. And McCormick was a great storyteller, master, promoter. And so you pick up things, you learn things over time, but it's about, you got to paint the picture and you got to sell the dream constantly to people. Well, Lori,
Oh yeah.
she's been with me 12 years and she's made almost $2 million, first time network. Well, really never made any money in a few companies she was in. But she says, Freddy Elias is still recruiting me in this company because
Wow.
I'm constantly recruiting her. I'm constantly sharing where her life's going to go and what her life's going to be like. I told her before she got rolling what her life was going to become. I had to paint that picture to her so she could see it bigger. So that's one thing I think people miss. People miss the boat. And it's like, and they may go, well, how do you do that? And I go, expose them to different things, different people. You go back to three-way calling, the connection. You know, it's a validation, but it's really about building the relationship. It's about getting them to see that if Todd can have this success, why can't I? Right? And so that's what you do. And the goal is to inspire them. And then the goal is to get them to work on their mindset. Especially today, in today's world, people have a lot of stinking thinking,
Oh yeah.
you know. So we gotta
It's hard.
help them. It's very hard, brother. All
You're
the
being
chaos.
invaded by negativity in all directions. And you know what's interesting, bro? Like you know, like if you look at somebody getting started in a company and like, let's say this check these boxes, right? You know, get them introduced to the upline, make sure they know what their distributor ID number is, you know, all the little kind of setup things, right? Just the, you know, the getting started, like when somebody gets started, one of those things that's typically, and I literally have probably 100 different distributor kits from different companies. I've got, you know, all sorts of different fast start training, getting started, AB, you know, like I've collected those for years. And almost all of those, there is the why section. And what's interesting is like like you just mentioned, a lot of times people either skip it or they glaze over it or they don't understand the power in it. And I think like it's up to like us, the sponsor, the enrolling sponsor, to impart upon them like really help them understand that they need to dig in and find that emotional reason why they're going to do this business. Not like to, oh, so I want to make some money to get out of debt, you know, to buy a new car. I mean, those are tangible material things, but it's like the deep-seated reason. And then the thing is, when you do that and you're so beautiful at it, like you're like incredibly talented at helping, you know, really painting someone's future for them, that when they have a trying or troubling day, which they will, there's no question. You know, they're going to have a
We
bad
all do.
prospect or somebody quit their team. Everybody has it. You can't, you can't be in this business and not have something go awry. And so, but because you've already taken the time to really get them thinking and seeing and smelling and feeling like all of these things, like what their future is going to look like, that even on that day when they, for a moment, you forget about it. And Lori's always, you know, you're like what you just had mentioned, like she's constantly reminding you, like you're continuing to recruit her because you're always reminding her. And so what I think a lot of people do, and the reason I'm bringing this up, because I want you to, if there's a lesson that's coming out of this conversation, I want to make sure you get the lesson. And the lesson and what we're talking about here is like, are you sitting down with your people and helping them to actually dream again and to start to see what's possible for them and to never let them forget what they're capable of doing and what's possible for them. And then when they have that bad day, that bad prospect, that bad week, whatever, you're constantly bringing them back to what they told you that they wanted and what they ultimately wanted their life to look like. Because if you don't go there, it's like it can be easy to forget the reason why you came here in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say two things. One, I learned this really more from you than anybody, but you always say you got to constantly be in touch with your leaders, right?
No doubt.
And you built a lot of your business because you're reaching out to people, just not trying to get business, but just to touch base and say hi, like you do with me, right? How you
Yeah.
doing? How's the family, right? But then it will lead into, you know, business or conversation, right? So that is very important that we do that, because I think a lot of people just, they're not even in touch with their people or their leaders. We've always got to be doing that. And then following up, and constantly following up people. I think people lag there. They slack off. It's a big part of our business. And I relate that to, right now it's pretty hot in Tennessee, like 90 some degrees. Well, we got some plants out on our front porch area. And, if you don't give them water for a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, what do they start doing? They start
They're
drying
dead.
up and they're
Yeah.
dying. Exactly. And it's the same thing with people. If you're not consistently in touch with them or following up, then they go away. They forget about it. It's no different than Randy. If Randy was like a beast,
Dude, 24 times. And I mean,
and every
he wasn't
time he
slacking in
called me,
follow up.
just about every time he called me, he had somebody else on the phone that he wanted me to hear a story.
Yeah.
And I did not listen to. Like I said, I got to go. I can't talk. But then some I did. And again, I got to the point where like, this guy is serious. I probably need to at least hear him out. Hear it out. Because like, I mean, I got to give him credit there. And a lot of people will say, I don't want to bug people. I don't like to bug people. And I really, and my saying to them is, I owe it to you, the person I'm following with, and I owe it to me to get a yes or a no. Because my whole intentions, this is a fact. When I get somebody started, my intentions is to change their life somehow. And that's the way I think about it. Has it served me great financially? Has it served my family great? Has it served me great, my time, freedom, and lifestyle? Yes. But my whole intentions is I'm going to impact people. I'll give you an example. So I met this guy at the gym the other day. I talk to people like at the gas pump. I'm like, they're over there. We're going to go, hey, how you doing today? And they're like, I'm
Yeah.
good. How are you doing? And if they got a personality, then they're like, good. How you doing? I go, fantastic. I go, are you from Franklin, Tennessee? And they're like, well, because most people are transplants and we get in these conversations. How'd you end up here? What do you do for a living? And they tell me. And a lot of times they'll go, well, they'll say, what do you do? And I tell them. A lot of times I go, how long you been at that bank? 15 years. And I go, you must love what you do if you've been there that long. And then it goes into a conversation. So that's the dialogue. But the bottom line is that we must be consistent at follow up. We must be consistent at talking to people every day. We must be consistent at painting the picture and selling the dream and getting people to believe that they can do this, right? They can make it happen. Because I think a lot of people struggle. That's people, let alone believe in our industry. They don't believe in themselves. They don't believe
Oh,
they
no
deserve.
doubt.
They don't believe in
No doubt.
themselves, and they don't believe they deserve a better life. I think a lot of times I was there, Todd. I was caught up in a rut of life, and I got into the construction thing, the real estate thing, and all that, and then it was served me good. But then I'm like, I didn't realize. I didn't think I would. This was what I was going to do in life. You know what I mean? But let me take you back to that why. And if you're strong with that why, and you really are right, you write it down, you see it every day, you'll make them phone calls. You'll follow up stronger. That rejection, those no's aren't going to affect you as much. If you're working on this and that why is strong and you push through it. And it's just like, I'll just say this to you, brother. I was listening to Kobe Bryant today. He's really good. His stuff's good. And he was talking about when he was 13 years old, he knew that he was going to be a great player, like one of the greatest of all time. But he said, I wasn't the fastest. I didn't have the best vertical. I didn't have the best shot. I wasn't the quickest. But he goes, every day I worked harder than everybody. There was nobody going to outwork me because I was up at 3 in the morning, was working out. I made 1,000 baskets. I started at 4 in the morning. I made 1,000 baskets at 6 in the morning. I was working out to get bigger, faster, and stronger. And he says, I gained skill and knowledge of the game. And that's how I became one of the greatest players out there. That's what he calls I think the Mamba effect. You understand?
Oh
But it's
yeah, yeah.
it's an everyday process. You can't be great in one day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. If you want to pick up that guitar behind you and you've never played, it's a process of consistency every day, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. I mean, my kid, first time I took him fishing, he's like, Dad, I'm not good at it. And like now the kid is an incredible fisherman. I mean, 2.5 years ago, he couldn't even strum a chord. I don't even know how many guitars he's got now. I think he's got at least 7 in his room, and they're actually coming out of the room now, and they're in the hallway because he's got so many different guitars. And he's better than I am. Like he is ripping on the guitar. And it's because, like you said, he works on it, and that's just an interesting thing. It's like, nobody sees this like today with me or you. Like I sucked at network marketing. Like you even said, it's like it's hard for me to imagine it because of your personality or whatever. Like I was not good. I was fearful. I was not necessarily shy, but I was like scared. I was definitely scared of what they were, how they were going to respond to me. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was young. I was 22 when I started, so most people were older than me. And I had this seed plan in my head. Well, why would, I mean, people that are older than me, why are they going to follow some young kid? And it took me a while to get through that, but I stayed long enough to get it, to get it figured out. And it's just like you talked about, like the concept of follow up. Like I mean, Randy like followed up with you like more than 20 times, like immediately. Like I mean, that's probably almost overkill. But like
Yeah.
I'd rather see somebody do that than like hear one no and then bail. Like I remember a guy, like this is so funny. Like this is years ago. There was when there was a magazine Success put out called Working from Home and Getting Rich. This was back in the early to mid, this is in the mid 90s. And I have relationships today with good friends now that I met by cold calling them from that magazine. And there was a guy named Emil Vinberg. And you can never forget the name because there's no other Emil Vinberg on the planet. And I cold call this guy. This is back when I was in Pro Step in the lead generation company. And I called him. I said, "Look, do you need I read your article. I mean, a great story." And he was living up in Washington State at the time. And he said, "Look, man," he goes, "it's not a good time for me." He goes, "But he didn't say don't ever freaking call me again. And even if he did, I probably would have called him back again at some point." But I called Emil, like I just put him in my calendar. Like, oh, it wasn't a good time for him. I didn't think tomorrow was going to be a good time for him, just based on the response I got. So I called him 1 month later. Same thing. 1 month later. I did that 6 times over a 6 month period of time. And I remember on the 6th call, he says to me, he goes, "Man," he goes, "I got to say something. I really appreciate the fact that you haven't given up on me, that you're not bugging me every couple of days. Like you've given me enough space." He goes, your follow-up has been absolutely perfect. He goes, "I'm ready to go." And the guy comes in a Pro Step and he puts like 175 people in the deal in like 2 weeks. And how many people would have been like, "Oh, it's not a good time for me." Done. And so, like, you may be in the business today somehow, some other way, but Randy being so incredibly persistent with his follow through on you, and then being smart enough, good student, man, to bring like other people, especially Dan, like an expert, like because he was probably newer at the time, and he was like, in fact, remember, the DeRitter brothers. So like when I worked with Gary and Ed said to me, like, again, I'm pretty new. I had 2 years of prior network marketing experience in NSA, and then ran out of money, had to move home and live in the bunk beds in my parents' house and regroup. And I ended up joining Bodywise, and I was under Gary and Ed. And Ed just said to me, he said, "Look, man," because I wasn't good at enrolling people. I had enrolled people, but I'd made virtually no money. And he said to me, and this is again back, remember the push play system? I know you do, right? The prospecting partner attached to our landline phone, press play on a cassette tape and have them listen to something. This is how archaic it is, right? And he said, just go put people in front of the information. The ones that like what they hear, bring them to me. And I was a student. This guy was making more money than I was. And I I
he made a
smacked
lot of
him with
money.
more three-way calls, dude. Then like I worked with Gary too, but Ed was like my closer. And like I would just bring him people and then I'd shut my mouth and I would just like sit there and listen to what he said. And he was good and I wasn't. So I was just like taking notes and letting him close my people and getting
Yeah.
better through the process. So it's interesting how, my audience, you guys, hearing or watching this, like, oh, I probably heard some of this before and some of that before, but like you're like when you hear something repeatedly over and over again from successful people, at some point you got to go, oh, man, maybe there's something to what they've said, and stop freaking ignoring it or like pushing it off as something that's like passe. It's almost like, and I've actually coached people that have done this, and I'm sure you have too, where you've heard something so many times. They're like the same thing. Like, let's say follow up is important. Okay, I'll just leave it right there. Follow up is important. Okay, I've heard that from 82 books and 77 seminars and all these different people. But there's one of two types of people, I think, when it comes to that. There's one person that goes, oh, really? Are you going to tell me to follow up some? I heard it before, but they're not following up, right? So they've
Yeah.
heard it over and over and over again, and they're like blowing it off. And then the other person's like, wait, hold on a second. Like all the successful people that I hear, like all of them are like, whoa, if you're going to be successful in this type of business, you need to get back to people. Follow up is crucial. It's a crucial part of the process. Maybe I should really look into that and get on my follow up game as one example. And it's just so funny, man. Like success leaves clues. Like you and I were taught, like, okay, if somebody's more successful than you, I'm listening to you, man. You got a bigger stack than I do. You make more money than I do. I don't know squat. Like, I'm gonna see if I can replicate what you're doing. And then there's people that are just like, I don't know, like, I don't know what it is, like not coachable, stubborn. I wasn't really stubborn. I don't think you were either. Like we're just guys that were.
Oh.
You said it. You were hungry. Like I was hungry, man. I had desire and no skill. And through my hunger, and unlike you, I don't know, like you're really good at like painting that vision and that dream. Like I don't even know. All I knew when I started was like I could make 10 grand a month and not have a boss. That's all I could see. That's as far like it was like the world was flat to me at that point. Like that's as far as my eyes could see. I couldn't see. Like if I hit 10 grand a month and no boss, like, oh my God, I've made it. Like that's like, why would I ever need any more than that? And then you get to 10 grand and you're like, oh, I mean, it's good money, but it ain't great money.
That's
Not
right.
knocking 10 grand a month, but it's, it's
Well,
interesting. So
when
getting people to
you
think
go to,
big.
yeah, but it's right. They got to think big, but when you don't, you can't see it. You know what I'm saying? So I say to my people, wherever they're at, so what can you see? Let's talk money and what can you see? And I go, they say, I can see getting to 4,000 a month. I go, okay, let's go to 4,000. Let's run and sprint to 4,000. And you do these things and you'll get there. And then when you get to 4 or 5,000 a month, you'll see 10 all day long. See,
Oh yeah.
I'll say this. I was clear as day that I was going to get to 10,000 a month. Now I didn't that was a decision I made. I'm making 10,000 a month, and when I got to 10, then I could see 20, and I got to 20, I could see 50, and I got this 50, I could see 100, and I've made up to 100,000 a month in commissions, right? Right at, but what you gotta, whatever you gotta be able to see it. And that's vision. And I would tell
Yeah.
people, this is where you're going. And here's what we're gonna do, but you're gonna get here. And some people are just like, there's no way. Or they'd laugh. And I'm like, no, I'm being serious. I'm not laughing. So you gotta move them through that. And so here's something, and you talked about follow up. It's not easy. And I want to ask you a question. Okay. You've seen that guy's article in some magazine, like that wasn't success, but it was something. And obviously he was in there for a reason. He was making a lot of money. He was very successful. Was it easy for you to call him? Just cold call him?
No, I'm sure I had nerves and, was
I
unsure of what
guarantee
the
you.
response was going to be. Yeah.
That's right. You had to stretch your comfort zone. And then right off the bat, he says, it's not a good time. So it was probably a short conversation.
Yeah, it was.
But you wrote down when you were going to call him again and you were consistent. And then that sixth time he complimented you. It's
Yeah, he did.
Just like I did Randy. I go, man, you are amazing. I said, obviously you're serious. So I need to take a minute. I need to listen to what you're saying. Now that was overkill, right? But he followed up. It was better than not doing it at all because he never would have got me. But you did it. He complimented you. How good did that make you feel? And then he did. He says, I'm ready. And in 2 weeks, he put in 175 people. How'd that make you feel?
Well, part of it scared the crap out of me because, and this is the only time I mean, it was great seeing all those people come in, and those were personal enrollments, by the way. Um, the thing that he said something to me that did scare me, and it was, I don't remember exactly the way he said it, but at the time I was doing okay. I wasn't like, I was making, I don't know, I would say probably somewhere between 5 and 10 grand a month. I wasn't lighting the world on fire, but I was making money, and I'd seen proof, evidence. I knew network marketing worked. But he said something to the effect of, because this guy was a major influencer, huge organization. I think him and his wife were like the top earners in our company at the time. And something to the effect of like, hey, I hope you're ready to handle what I'm about to bring you. Like, I want to make sure that so he was testing me. Like, he
Yeah.
was testing my ability to be available and to be supportive. And I did have some doubts, personal doubts, as far as my ability to handle him and what he was going to bring. But it didn't scare me away from like, oh, I'm not going to take you into my business. I was like, oh, okay, let's go, man. It was like, I guess I'm ready to step up to whatever I've got to step up
Yeah.
to. So,
Yeah. So yeah, but I get it. I get what you're saying. But it took you to the next level. I mean, God, if I had somebody bring in 175 people in 2 weeks personally, it'd be amazing. But he knew what he was doing. He had influence, but it also took you to the next levels,
oh, it totally
right?
did. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. So
man. I mean, this business and you got such a big heart. Like, I've always known this about you. Like, the more, like, when we communicate, like, you truly want to and are committed to helping people win. Like, you want to help people win. And so I know this about you without even asking. Like, you're not a disappearing sponsor act.
mm-mm.
Somebody who just signs them up, bing, signs them up, bing. Like, even when I mentioned like Michelle, my interview from like a week or so ago,
Yeah.
what's interesting is I asked her this question. I'm gonna actually ask you the same question. Like, I was like, I don't know if she either shared or I asked a question, I don't recall, but they became top earners in their company, and their total number of people that they had personally enrolled was 65. So some
Wow.
people might think, wow, that's a lot of people, but over a span of like years in a company, enrolling 65 people, they're not top recruiters. But what she did do, and what I've really met only a few handfuls of people over the years who have sponsored maybe 15 or 12 or 20 in total, but they're still top real high level earners, is their ability to take those people, work with them, help them figure it out, and make sure that those individuals, now it's a two-way street, that you have to have a willing participant and a person that's going to be there to, like, I'm ready to work with you, you're willing to work with me. So it takes two parties. But then I've got people I know that have sponsored 475 or 600 people in a deal, and it's like you're just smacking pasta up against the wall and hoping one of these things is going to stick.
Yeah.
And those people make money too. They're just leaving more people along the path, that guys like you or like her, so I think there's kind of there's probably multiple styles, but there's two ends of the spectrum. There's like the heavy, huge recruiters that just put so many people in and somebody's going to stick. And nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then there's people that sponsor far less, but they dig in and drive business with those people until they're making so much money they can't go away. So
That's right.
how many people have you personally recruited in the company that you're currently in? I mean, I'm not asking for the exact number, but like, what would you say the approximate
I'll
number?
give you an idea. I mean, I've recruited a good amount. So I started my recruiting early on. I mean, was strong actually my first 30 days, because to me, it was all about creating momentum, my personal mental momentum and creating momentum. Okay. And urgency. Everything to me is about urgency. And that's where people fall. 20, 24 my first month, 54 my first 90 days. And probably in 14 years, I mean, honestly, not a lot, but I mean, I probably averaged 2.5 people a month over the course. But I created urgency, and I found like two of my 54 are my two of my top leaders, and they both, one is going on 3 million in earnings, the other one's over 2 million. So they brought me a lot. You know what I mean? So I'm that person that doesn't recruit a ton, but I know how to build and develop people. And then I know the other side, I got some I got some people that recruit machines, and they struggle to build and develop people. So,
So
you
what do you
know,
think, real quick, as we finish this up, because you know this, I think we're kind of getting towards the tail end of this, unfortunately. But what's the difference? Like, what do you do that you know, if you can point out like one or two things between these people that are like recruiting tons of people, but failing to really get anything really significantly moving, and you, in terms of building people, what are you doing that they're not doing?
well, again, I think it's important, and you gotta get one, you gotta build a relationship with them. And I'm not saying these other people aren't, but you gotta build a relationship. You gotta find out really what their needs and wants are. A lot of people aren't doing that, brother. You gotta investigate their needs and their wants. You gotta be sincere with that. And then I think the other thing is, you show them how to start working on themselves off the bat. You find out their needs and wants and why. And then you paint again, you gotta expose them to different things, video chats, company events. I like to go into people's homes as I get them going. I want them to invite people. I'm the old school. Let's invite them, have a presentation on the products, the business, and the opportunity. And here's what you're going to tell them: come hear about how I lost 11 pounds, 2 inches my waist in 8 days without being hungry or craving carbs or sugar, and my energy is phenomenal. Come hear about how 94% of the people are losing 5 to 15 pounds in 8 days and having that success, and improving energy, whatever. And we're going to do a 40-minute presentation, and you're going to get to try samples of products. I like to do that right off the bat if they're in my vicinity. So I'm building my area actually right now, which I love. And because I've been in Tennessee 4 years from Illinois, but I've got stuff in this city over here and this city over here. And that's what I'm doing part of that. So then they get to see and hear, and they get to see my passion, my belief, how I work with people. And then we get to build a relationship. But then I connect them with, I have something called Room at the Top, which is, well, you were on there so amazingly well the other night, right? So it's inspiring, and it's a training in 30 to 40 minutes every Monday night. So now they get some golden nuggets, and they get inspired more because they hear about the success of people. So a little bit of all of that. And then you encourage, and then you got to give recognition. The saying is, babies cry for it and grown men die for it.
Yeah,
And it's true.
no doubt.
And I think
No
a lot
doubt.
of people growing up in life never got loved or loved on a recognition. They got beat down a lot. They got said, you can't do this. No, you're never going to be good at that. And that, as a child, that affects them as an adult. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
and so when
100%.
they're getting recognition, and they're getting, like, I'll interview people, on, in Room at the Top. They don't have to be high level, you know, but if they're just kicking butt, like I'm going to interview this gal who's 60 or 75 days in she's second level on my team, and she's, going to do over 10,000 in volume this month and hit a new
Wow.
level. And so she's going to be one of my next interviews, and I'm going to recognize the heck out of her in front of the whole company. You know what I'm saying? So, but we give them recognition, and then they want some people to thrive on it. I mean, I'll just be honest, like some people that drives them more than money.
Oh
So you got
yeah,
to
no
find
question.
out, you got to find out what, I don't want to say this, what makes them tick, what turns them on. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, the way you do things obviously works, and I hope you guys paid very close attention to what Freddie shared in this conversation, brother. It's so cool to finally, I know you and I talk, but to just do it on camera for everybody to be able to listen to, I think is just a beautiful thing. I don't even know if we've ever done this before, but I
Right.
thank you, man. You're a good friend, and just appreciate your time, and I know my audience does as well. And just you guys take this stuff, use it. It's the application of it. You hear me say this all the time. I know it's like a broken record, but it's the application of what you hear that makes the biggest difference. You can be a learner, and that's great. We want you to be learners. That's why you're here. But you got to apply. You can't just learn. So, Freddie, bro, thank you for spending so much time with me today, with my audience today, and hopefully we get a chance to hang out again soon, man.
I hope so too, brother. I just tell you, Ty, I love you, man. And you're just incredible person. And I appreciate what you do and how strong you stand for our industry. And I always say greatest industry ever, even though, people try to beat us down, but you're one of the greatest of all time. And I was just thrilled that you asked me to come on here.
It's a pleasure, brother. All right, my friends, thank you so much. That's a wrap on this episode. Of course, we'll see you on a future one. I hope you're having an amazing and epic day, and we'll see you next time.